So tonight, we talking about America is the true old world. Moo discovered. I'm on. Oh man, it flipped over. What happened? Oh, okay. Amunhotep Chavis El-Bey. This is a book that actually Fear has. Throw that bad boy on the screen real quick, Fear. Let's get a big old glimpse of that. Hold on, let me make you a solo. There you go. Yeah, that book right there. So this is a book that Fear was reading. He's been giving us information about it for the last few days. Yeah, he's been reading it for a while. So that's the book right there. That's the book. So let me ask you. Let me ask you guys, or let me just say this, or if you guys want to answer or not. I know for many times over that I can count, there's been many people saying that the Egyptians made it to America. And some people actually say America is actually the Atlantis, right? I've heard that story. Also read stories and seen what could be described as a newspaper clipping of artifacts that they found, I believe, in the Grand Canyon. Let me see that. I mean, you know what? Egyptian, let's bring this up real quick. Artifacts in the Grand Canyon, because I think it was the Grand Canyon. Not, here we go. All right, here we go. So I'm going to share this real quick. Of course, it has a little co-pilot search thing in there, and it tells you, the claims of Egyptian artifacts being found in the Grand Canyon stem from a hoax article published in 1909, and there is no credible evidence to support these assertions. Now, first of all, that doesn't make sense to me, because what they're saying is that the picture isn't is a whole. It came from an article, but let me see if I can find the picture. It wasn't. No, I don't think it was artifacts in there. I think they took a man. What the hell is going on? Why is this up?
That would make no sense on their part. That's like just a redundancy, because they're saying, like, even all it's found, like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing to see here. It can't be cool.
Here's I guess a piece of the article. It says the fraudulent Arizona Gazette article from April 5th, 1909. And then Discover magazine says no Egyptian artifacts were never found in the Grand Canyon. And it's an urban legend tells of remain ancient Egyptians. Oh, this part ain't showing up on y'all. Let me bring it up. Oh, god damn, what happened? Whoa, my screen just went black for some reason.
Oh shit.
Yeah, here we go. It's tripping. So yeah, here's the article from the Discover magazine. They say, let's see if I can do this. Can you guys hear this?
No, I can see the screen.
Oh, you can. So that's fine. Now we're using one. So yeah, basically it's saying that it was perched 2,000 feet above the Colorado River. The chambers of this underground citadel were littered with artifacts, hieroglyphics, and even mummified remains, possibly of Egyptian descent. There's just one catch: the story is unequivocally false. That's what they say, right? And they say the origins. You say, let's see. Okay, yeah. Despite more than 100 years old, the tale sparked the hoax article continues to circulate today. So, I mean, there's people who say this. Let's see. I just want to read something real quick. Okay, so the one paper that did comment was, I guess, the Coconino Sun in Flagstaff, Arizona, pointed to a likely culprit behind the hoax story, Joe Manhattan, after traveling salesman who became famous in the 1870s and 1880s. So basically, what this boils down to is somewhere around that time frame, 1870s, 1890s, whatever. Somebody wrote, and it says the article actually was written in 1909. somebody had came up with this idea to bring up a hoax or something like that in 1999, and it ended up in an American newspaper. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know that the news back then, they just stuck to like real life stories, no bullshit. Some of them were probably the same way they are today. So it's kind of hard to decide who was telling truth and who's not. But at least 1909, they say this, and I can tell you, they said they actually had pictures on Google Earth that shows that there are caves in the Grand Canyon area that are sealed off. Like I actually seen these with my own eyes. Like I've seen it on Google Earth, and I know Google Earth also deletes a lot of that stuff because they deleted that fucking headquarters with that map that I have took a screenshot of while I was there. So it's pretty interesting that that stuff can happen. So all right, Fair, I want you to wait, hold on, let me see. It says pseudoscience. All right, let's see. Okay, so nothing but just theory. So basically, since the Smithsonian and all these other museums may or may not have access to that stuff at that time, they're saying that nobody else was able to see these artifacts. So, I mean, I guess you got to have a university vouch that you found some Egyptian artifacts. It doesn't matter if they are or not. You know what I'm saying? They got to verify. They got to put their hands on it. And there's no way I could do that shit. If I found some Egyptian artifacts in my backyard, I'm definitely going to somebody and I'm not going to no university. I'm definitely going to try to do some tests and figure out how I can get these data. I find out that 4,000 years old, I definitely ain't going to let nobody know. I'm just going to put that shit on my shelf. You know what I mean? Because too many people will try to rob you with some stupid stuff like that. But, yeah, Fear. So I'm going to bring up this next one. This, the one with the book. Hold on. You got where's it at? All right, so we got this right here. It says in this figure, an image of the Cholula pyramid, the largest pyramid structure in the world. Notice that they built a church on top of this pyramid to try to hide it, and they covered up the Egyptian city that was once all around this huge pyramid. And this is, I guess, a reproduction of it and whatnot. It says the pyramids in the Americas are all step pyramids, which were your first pyramids, which is actually accurate. According to Egyptology, the step pyramid of Saqqara, the pyramid of Djoser, is the first pyramid in Egyptians built, dated around 2667 to 2648 BC. Now that's pretty interesting to me because I'll tell you. Hold on, let me see. Which is 4,000 years old. Egyptologists agree that the step pyramid of Saqqara, the pyramid of Djoser, was the first pyramid because they agree that it is the architect of all the pyramids. You have more pyramids in North America than all of Egypt combined. That's actually correct. Like I know that for a fact. Also, you have more pyramids in Sudan than you have in Egypt. You also have now. I like this date right here, and I appreciate you sharing that, Fear, because what I do know, this pyramids in Peru, and this is what I like to do. So there's these pyramids. You see the date right here where it says 2667 and 2648, right? And that's when the pyramids of Djoser were built, right? So what I do know is that the pyramids in Peru, there are pyramids in Peru. I think it's Coral. I gotta look it up real quick. They have the oldest pyramids in the world, or at least older than, I'm not gonna say the world, the older pyramids than Egypt. And I gotta bring it up.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to switch platforms. I'm going to go totally onto my phone and just deal with the audio issues because my computer keeps freezing.
All right, bro, no problem. We'll just take it from here. We got you, bro. We got you. We know we're having some technical difficulties today. Let's see. The oldest pyramids in the world. Let's just type that in to see what it says. Okay. It gives you the oldest 8 pyramids. Okay. Let's see where it says number 1 for this. So I'm just going to scroll down real quick just to see if this is the website. Okay. Yep. So this one says the same thing. This website says the same thing as this book. So I want to show you guys something. So right here, it says 2667, 20, and they both had about the same date. So these are the ones right here that are supposedly older. Now, this is where we're going to go and test something out real quick. Because that's just a website that gives its number. So let's see. Because I was looking at this. Let's see. Hold on, let's see. Man, this is so hard. Sometimes when you're trying to look up some of this stuff. All right. Okay, this one. Let's see. Oh, this is actually a good website that I like too. But I'm trying to find that one article is a while ago about the pyramids in Peru dating before the ones in Egypt. Oh, fair. There he goes. You right there, bro?
Yeah, I had to completely switch over to the phone because like the computer just kept freezing. I don't know what the hell's going on with that thing, but either way, um, before I start into this, like I wanted to ask you both, like, which do you lean towards? Which side of the fence are you on? Like with the out of Africa theory or the, you know, out of America theory?
Well, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, man, that's interesting. I definitely lean more toward out of Africa. I started reading some books recently. Ivan von Sertima, they came before Columbus, and I'm only a couple chapters in, but it's lining up with some other stuff I saw. That talks about some of the African influence in the Americas pre-Columbus. So I tend to lean more that way. I think there's some evidence and stuff that indicates they were, visiting with the different cultures down here. So in South America and North America, stuff like that. So that's where I tend to lean toward. What about y'all?
Well, for me, it depends what you consider a human, right? Because that really makes a difference, right? Do you consider anatomically how we are now? Of course, with some minor changes in between, like Neanderthals and Homo erectus, or do you go because when they started walking upright on their legs, right, using bilateral movement? So for me, for Homo sapiens, everybody that's on this planet who has Homo sapien blood in them, which we know we're all labeled as Homo sapiens. Yes, some people got Denisovan blood in them, DNA in them, and some people got Neanderthals in them, right? That's not an argument, right? Everybody that gets a DNA test will see they're different type of what you consider a human. But as far as Homo sapiens sapiens, we all come from Africa, right? Now, are we all is every species from Africa? No, I don't think so. I never believed that. And the only reason why is because I actually have a map. If you see Africa right here, it lines right here with South America, right? It literally lines up with it. So in reality, if life don't just start in one place, it has to start in multiple places. That's how you expand it, right? And what I mean by that is okay, if there's a type of animal that lives here, I'm definitely sure there's a type of animal that lives there, right? There's always going to be a branch of animals that move away from each other, right? It's going to start in one location, right? That's why it's, we don't know for a fact if the beginning of what we consider humans started here, but we do know that Homo sapiens started here. We know Homo sapiens sapiens started here, which is all of us all around here, right? Now, if we found some Homo erectus over here somewhere, right, they still came from this way, right? Now, the only issue is did another species live on this planet and had no connection with Africa at all. That was their own species. And I think that's possible, right? Like, but the problem is how do you prove that? Well, right now we have science that goes back with um, DNA and genetic material. I know a lot of people, especially a lot of people who believe the idea that that humans started in Europe first, and they say it's because of one jawbone, right? One jawbone, right? Is literally that one jawbone in Spain that they say. I'll pull it up too. That they say that what that's why that's where humans started, and I think it's like 6 million years or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But the oldest bones that we have of what some people might consider of start of the humankind is 7 million years. Now that's 7 million years from what I heard, and I'll pull up those sources up in a second when you're talking fear. Now I actually done a podcast discussion with Michael Cramo, right? And he's the author of Forbidden Archaeology, and he co-wrote it with man, I can't remember the other guy's name. He passed away. Dang, I can't remember it off the top of my head. But they co-wrote a book, and in the book they give you sources for all their claims. I mean, literally sources for all their claims. So it's just like me, when you hear me talking, I'm having a source for what I'm talking about. They give you a source that you can look up for yourself. It's up to you to determine, do you take their side of the story or do you create your own story and believe something else? And they say that they have, and this is what's found all around, they have footprints of humans that's supposed to have been in the 60 million years ago. Now we know the last Jurassic part, or the last dinosaur time frame, was 65 million years ago. So that's give or take. So it's possible that what we consider humans walking on planet Earth. What was I said I was going to look up again?
I don't know. You go ahead of my
Yeah, I got it. The oldest bones found on Earth. I'm just going to type that in just to get that.
Yeah, but the question is this mainstream academia information or just what we're privy to? But other people like Amunhotep, like the author of this book, that he's discovered evidence otherwise.
Well, that's the thing. So this is what I learned. So when something is discovered, a university has to back them up, right? Some way, right? They have like artifacts or whatever the case is. So everything that Michael Kramer says is backed up by modern academia, or at that time frame of modern academia. And it's also backed up by just not by modern academia, but they also had other people test the stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you muted Rebirth.
Now I was saying the European what is it? Spain, the jawbone that I was talking about. That people say that goes back, I think it's like 6 million years. Matter of fact, hold up. I'm just gonna say Spain jawbone. Just make it easier. That should be able to find it. So Bruce Fenton, me and him got into it. He don't like me because just like I do, I read everybody's book. And
I know, Bruce.
yeah, hold up. I'll bring it up, matter of fact. Because oh man, I hate how it's different on the phone. So me and him had this. He wrote a book called The Inner Africa Theory, right? And I'm always trying to sit here and take what somebody says and process it to the point where it makes sense to me. What I mean by that is that he wrote a book on it. So before I can say anything wrong about his information, I have to read his book, right? Like that's just something I have to do. I can't say, well, you're wrong, and not look at his sources and take just take away from it. I can't disrespect him like that. I can't say you're wrong if I never read your material and actually looked at your sources, right? That'd be stupid of me, right? And the reason why that would be stupid of me is because for the simple fact that if you have a source that backs up your claim, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, he's right. You know what I'm saying? I can't argue that. So in his book, man, this is so crazy. So he wrote a book. It's on you can buy a hard copy or Kindle. I got it on the Kindle, and of course, it's forwarded by Graham Hancock. You know, and this is probably why a lot of people call Graham Hancock a racist, because they probably read this book and he probably didn't really understand what I'm going to tell you. I don't think Graham Hancock actually read this book, because if he read this book, he would have never. I just don't believe it. I think that was something like a sponsorship. Money got involved. I'm being 100% honest with you, because I respect Graham Hancock a lot, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell you why he does it. This is what he says. This is what Bruce Fenton says in his book. Whether Homo sapiens adautu is indeed Homo sapiens, and whether it be 160,000 years old or 195,000 years old, there is no evidence of any Homo sapiens in Africa before 200,000 years, and no sign of their ancestors. Now, let me tell you how stupid that sounds. And this is why I'm glad you brought up that question, Fear. First of all, ancestors. Okay. That's the dumbest thing in the world, because we know that, and he talks about it in his book too, Australopithecus afarensis and Australopithecus ramidus. That's the ones that I was telling you about that use the bilateral movement for their legs. The Australopithecus ramidus is the one that started to go from using both their hands and their legs, that they started practicing trying to move just on their legs. The Australopithecus afarensis is the one that totally did it, and those are the small, I think 3 feet through 3 or 4 feet tall individuals. They're also known as Lucy, which was the name from the Beatles when the individuals found the bones that they played, you know, when they found the bones. So saying and no sign of their ancestors is the dumbest thing in the world, right? Okay, so maybe he's saying because he don't, and this is what I'd said. Okay, maybe he thinks that we don't come from apes, so I'll accept that, right? Or we don't have a common ancestor, right? So I said, okay, that's not stupid. So I'll scratch that off and just say, okay, as ancestors, he's saying probably monkey-like, right? Okay, cool. So we're gonna go back up here to where he says 160,000 years or 195,000 years. Now, this is why he blocked me. Let me bring it up too, because I got to bring facts to the table, and I don't like to just say stuff. I found the Spain bone that I was telling you guys about. It's one, but we're gonna go ahead and what was I bringing up again? Fuck.
Why you were proving Fenton wrong?
Oh yeah, oldest Homo sapien bones. That's all I'm gonna type. All right, that's okay. All right, well, let's go. Let's just click on the very first one. We're just gonna make sure. Hold on, real quick. I was about to sneeze. But hold on. Here we go. So this is an article that was written in 7 June 2007. Oldest known Homo sapien fossils found. New finds at an archaeological site in Morocco open a window on the origin of our species. Right now, he wrote a book about inner Africa. Okay. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. We all know that people want to know whether we came from Africa or whether Africa, basically, we came into Africa, right? So this article right here, okay, talks about, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, at the site of the Moroccan mine, paleoanthropologist John Q. Hublin points to one of the oldest Homo sapiens skulls yet found. Right here, right? You can see the teeth right here, right? Now that doesn't look like any kind of goddamn stone, like no head. You can't see that without the neck like being into it. Now, this is what they reconstructed from all the bones that they found from that. That's why it's important that they do things slowly. That's why when people, like Jimmy Corsetti talks about doing things so fast, and shit like that, that everybody need to be on the ball on it. If you look at this picture right here, you would you have to be careful, right? Teeth. Now hold on, let me see something. Let me see if they bring up. Okay, no, that's it. So okay, so where's it at? It says right here, the oldest bone set of our species have been found surprisingly in an old Moroccan mine at about 300,000 years old. 300,000 years old. Okay. That definitely goes way past what um what's his name? Bruce Fenton said about the one. What was it? Let me bring it back up because I don't want to misquote him, of course, because that'd be wrong of me. Says he said, so we got is 160,000 years old or 195,000. Now it's funny that he put 195,000, right? 195,000. Well, I'm about to show you why he put 195,000, right? He says, remember, before 200,000 years, right? And this is why I say it's so easy for me to just verify what somebody's saying. Because if you say something, I'm gonna look it up. That's a highlight that I have. If you're making this claim, I'm gonna research it, right? So let me ask you, one of you guys, what do you think of this information and what you just heard or saw what Bruce Fenton shared in his book?
It's a contradictory, but which one is corroborated, dated, and actual like fact versus fiction, or theory versus opinion?
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I it doesn't line up for me, like the stuff that for instance, like the book that Fear presented with that pyramid. I mean, and even the site you looked at afterward where it showed the dates and everything. I think we have enough evidence to show that there was ancient human presence obviously in Africa, but then that's spreading to the Americas as well. I mean, I know in that step pyramid, I read where Imhotep, from Africa, was the architect of that. So if there's evidence of that being those pyramids being all over North America, and the earliest one they have was over there in Egypt, and then they have that next one coming in Peru. It seems to suggest that there were early humans there, and they were traveling back and forth between the lands. So it just don't stand up to me when I see the evidence presented from on Fenn's side. But
I might be changing your mind now that you said that. I might be
yeah,
changing your mind by the end of this video.
hey, that's good. Knowledge is power. So whatever the
Right?
knowledge is,
I
let's
mean,
learn it.
I was firm with like just with the same idea as you until I actually looked at this stuff, and it's like, what? So I did a double take, and then I really looked at it and looked into it with all the sources given, and it's like, yeah, I can't deny it at this point. So you might be a convert.
Hey, let's see what we got. Let's see the knowledge.
Yeah, and that's why I said it depends on what they consider a human. So I definitely am looking for what that person considers a human, because I never ever believed that life just began in one location. I think it had to begin in multiple locations for it to be a better survival rate. You know what I mean? Um, it doesn't mean that right now the Homo sapiens are lower class individuals. It's just saying that maybe America, and this is what's interesting. No matter what, whether you pick North America or Africa, the same people were black. Like, so that's where it gets more interesting at. Like when you read, like I've read that the people and I say the reason why I say black is because the sun. They said that they found the white gene, and I had the privilege of talking to Dr. Keith Chang, who is the finder of SLC 2485 for the lighter pigmentation. Says that it came anywhere from 6 to 20,000 years ago, give or take, right? So that means, okay, maybe white is not the first color, maybe black is not a first color, maybe blue could be the first color, because guess what? Some of the gods are depicted in blue. If you go to the Indus Valley civilization, some of their gods, like Krishna, is depicted in blue, right? Or it could have been purple. It could have been a multi different colors, and the mixture that we have now is the colors that we have now because of the mixtures that were given at that time. I know when you look at certain animals, they have a light bluish skin color, right? So think about when you get the descriptions of some of these guys being white and some of these guys being blue and then some of these guys being black, because blue and black was synonymous for being the same word at one time, right? So when somebody said blue, they meant black, and when they meant black, they could have meant blue. But guess what? If you see the white tint on the dog and you don't see the blue tint because you're half colorblind for whatever reason, that God could be white to you. And then that mixture could have spread in between what we have right now. And that's why I say me personally, as far as right now, all Homo sapiens sapiens come from here. Now, if we find older Homo sapiens sapien bones in North America, then I'll say North America. If they say in Mexico, I'll say Mexico or whatnot. But let me tell you how incorrect that Bruce Fitton was, right? Because this is why you don't make a claim and then argue your claim and then go block somebody because you want to continue to make money off of a lie. He's making money off of a lie right now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because in 2022, of January 12th, they literally talk about, and it says right here, shifting the age of the oldest known Homo sapien fossils in Eastern Africa to be before around 200,000 years ago is consistent with independent evidence for greater antiquity of the modern human lineage. Now, what that's basically saying, independent. That means people who found these bones wanted to get their first take on when this time frame came, and whatever was a short time, they got it. And then when somebody say, hey, well, let me challenge that, they didn't give it to somebody that who isn't independent, right? So now, but this is what's crazy. Before that, it says by dating proximal deposits of this eruption, we obtain a new minimum age of the Homo fossils of 233,000 to 22 plus or minus. So that's over the 200,000 mark that he talked about. So every argument that he made saying that there's no ancestors in it, that one little quote messed up his whole entire book, because his whole argument resides on that quote. That's why when you write a book or when you try to say something, it's okay to have sources what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But saying this right here, whether Homo sapiens is indeed simply Homo sapiens, because he's saying they're one and the same, right? And whether it be 160,000 years old or 195,000 years old, there is no evidence of any Homo sapiens in Africa before 200,000 years and no sign of their ancestors. So when I gave you the new information, what he should have did was, hey, let me go back and do some more work, right? That's what you do as somebody has people who read your book, take the time to read your book, and then take the time to research more information, and then you ignore them. It's crazy.
Due diligence.
That's all I say. Dang. Something fell down my throat, man. Hold on, let me clear my throat.
Down the wrong tube.
All right, there we go. It's clearing up. So I'd love to collaborate with Graham on his show about the prehistoric migrations and global transmission of the first culture out of Australia. Theory on Netflix would be awesome. Now he's trying to, and I'm letting it know if it ever happens, we can take a snippet of this shit. So he'll be like, oh, what the fuck? When he posts his video and gets it with Graham Hancock, I'm gonna be like, hey, so you just want to ignore evidence, right? Because he said there is no evidence, right? This is what he says up here. So I said, I quote from your book, and I said exactly what I said right there. And I said, there is substantial evidence of Homo sapiens in Africa before 200,000 years ago, along with the evidence of their ancestors. Fossils from the sites like, Jebel Erhad, I guess that's what I'm saying. That's the one Morocco. In Morocco, which date back to around 300,000 years ago, provides some of the earliest evidence of Homo sapiens. Additionally, there are numerous fossils and archaeological finds of earlier ancestors in Africa, such as Homo, I don't know, I've never been able to say this word, and Homo erectus and Australopithecus. That's what I was talking about, the Australopithecus, Ramidus, and Afarensis. These species are considered part of the evolutionary lineage leading to modern humans, which is Homo sapiens. So I did that, and I tagged Graham Hancock. I do the Knowledge is Power Africa books worth reading and stuff because I think his book is worth reading. I still support what the fuck you're saying because I want people to realize when they go read this shit right here that you're getting information from somebody who stopped their information to prove a point for their narrative. That's why I said when he said 165 to 195,000 years, when new information comes out and somebody presents it to you, you shouldn't be trying to sell a Netflix series for off of bad information. You just dumbing more people down. Because guess what? When I hear that shit in the space, I'm gonna tell them, yo, we definitely have bones older than 200,000 years. And they'll be like, oh, where? And I'm like, well, we have them in Morocco, Africa. Well, prove it. I'm already on it. It's already on the top. Oh, that don't mean shit. Well, what the fuck do you mean it don't mean shit? It's a peer-reviewed fucking article, man. Like, how am I wrong, right? Like, it's a fucking peer-reviewed article. And 9 times out of 10, this is what I never understood about any people in the spaces. And that's why I say it's all fucking fun and games from me. And I only take this these conversations serious. You will always hear people say, well, drop your source. Give me your evidence. But when Rebirth get in that motherfucker, them evidence, you ain't even got to ask for it. I'm already presenting them before I say anything. And you know what's so funny is I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I make it a passion of mine to prove what I said. Most people don't do that. They just want you to go off their narrative. And I don't even give you a narrative. I just say, hey, you said there's no evidence of anything before 160,000 years to 195,000 years. But its peer-reviewed article definitely does say that. And it's evidence. You used a peer-reviewed article for your claim, which is outdated now. Now there's a new updated information. Now what do you do with that information? Now you have the choice to either fix what your mistake is or go from it. And like if anybody buys my book and find mistakes in there, I'll definitely write a second book and be like, yo, I got to fix this. I got to clear the air. And guess who else did that? Fucking Darwin. Darwin wrote many different origins of species of his books. He went back and revised a lot of his shit. He talks about it. So that's just what I am. So we're gonna go to the next one, Fair, that you brought up. Let me see. Stop sharing this so I can run through it. But that, yeah, I'm telling you, that's how I give out accurate information. I don't want people to believe what I say. I want you to actually give me a source where I'm wrong, so I can be like, oh, okay, you got it. So this one right here, Fear, you want to talk about this screen right here, brother? Pyramids in America. Oh, while you're talking about it, let me see if I can get.
Hang on. I want to read the paragraph for this stuff to explain it just a little bit more in detail so people understand it and say instead of just kind of jumping on what we're talking about. There's two things. There's one quick paragraph, and then it goes into the pyramids. It starts chapter 1. All of the major foods necessary to sustain life come from the Americas, and this is part evidence that goes into later on that gives it more support on the evidence. The Americas, North, South, and Central America, are the true Old World because of all their major food needed to sustain life came from the Americas and were later taken to Africa and Asia. Foods like squash, tomatoes, corn, potatoes, beans, wheat, yam, wild rice, which was modified to create modern white rice. Peanuts and 90% of all your fruits and vegetables came from the Americas. And I gave the Wikipedia list for that the address, the very first address, if you wanted to bring that up, but you don't have to. That's the only excerpt on that part. But to get into the pyramids, it says the oldest pyramids and the most pyramids are in the Americas. The oldest and biggest pyramids are in the Americas. The Cholula Pyramid is the biggest pyramid in the world because its dimensions are 400 by 400 meters, as a total and has a total volume of 4.45 million cubic meters, almost twice that of the Gallery of the Great Pyramid of Giza. That was that figure that you showed originally, the very first one. The Cholula Pyramid is also a step pyramid. We are dealing with a very ancient pyramid because the step pyramids were the first pyramids. The pyramids in the Americas are all step pyramids, which were your first pyramids according to Egyptologists. The step pyramid of Saqqara, the pyramid of Djoser, and the first pyramid that the Egyptians built, dated around 2667 to 2648 BC, Third Dynasty, which is over 4,700 years ago. Egyptologists agree that the step pyramid of Saqqara, the pyramid of Djoser, was the first pyramid because they agree it's the archetype of all pyramids. You have more pyramids in North America than all of Egypt combined. That would be the second image that I gave to you, which is that map. Um, and South America, which is the other one. Now, if we include the pyramids in Central and South America, it's not even a contest anymore. As far as who has the most pyramids between the East or the West, because the Americas clearly has more pyramids, and they also predate the other pyramids that are in Africa as well.
You still talking?
Hold
Oh,
on.
no, you stopped. I thought it was me.
Hold on. I didn't. Oh, shit. Hold, please. I didn't give you.
You're sending it now. Here, I'm gonna bring this up real. Dang it, what the heck?
It froze on my side.
Yeah, he's frozen on my side too. He's probably because he is on his phone about to take some pictures. So he probably still hears us, but he's just about to take some pictures. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna bring up this one right here. This is what he was talking about. I had to close it down for some reason and bring it back up. Here's what he was talking about, the pyramid and
All right, I'm back. Hold, please. I gotta upload some pictures to you on the group chat.
All right, yeah, just send them up. So let me. So why? Because he was talking about.
I forgot to. I guess the pages were stuck together. I didn't put these in the other pictures as well. My bad.
No, that's cool because I'm about to show you something real quick. I was trying to find that when we was talking about. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Let me see. Where's the date? Date. I need the dates. Sometimes these websites, man. And you know what I learned, man, that even though if you have a website, sometimes or eventually that thing's going to get closed down. So some of the best information that you ever sometimes will get will be shut down eventually. That's why I make all these videos and everything that I do. Only because of the simple fact that here we go. The information is once it's lost, man. You can't get, like, here we go. You got to sign up for this one. I'm not signing up for nobody's website to read something. But anyway, they said, so what I've read, and I was trying to find a lot of evidence for it. I guess I can't find anything because everybody's arguing against each other. So one thing that I did find, it says the sacred city of Cerro Supe in central coastal Peru boasts an impressive complex of ancient monument architecture around 2600 BC. So now what the consensus is, I guess, is that the pyramids in Egypt are older. But that's not what I've always learned. And I've had people do their own research, and they said they definitely found pyramids in the Americas that's older, and Peru was actually older than the ones in Egypt. But I guess they keep pushing the dates back for that. But I also don't understand how, because see, some of them say up to 5,000 years ago, right? But they don't give you like 2680 or something like that. They only give you like five. Like this one says it says right here, there is some disagreement about how Cerro Supe is, how old it is, right? And they say carbon dating suggests that the city is between 4,000 to 5,000 years old, right? But then, and then it says if these readings are correct, then it would mean that they're older or just as old as the pyramids in Coral Castle. And I'm about to show you right here. or coral castle. Why I say that at the coral at the pyramids in Peru. This is the website. This is the website that I found a while ago. It's World Atlas. This is the one that I was looking for, and just like I said, they all say 4,000 to 5,000. But then they say right here, when they finish it off, then it would mean that they're either older or just as old as the ones in he went down again as Egypt. So the argument is whether the ones in Egypt or Peru are older. But you can see this picture here, and this is just a partial pyramid. You can see here that that is not as tall as Egypt. You know what I'm saying? So people, but see, we have those same types of pyramids and mounds here in the United States of America, right? So, but this is a step pyramid, so it's like one step basically. But my point is that it's not as big as the ones in Peru. Now, I actually wrote an article, and I gotta find. I'm gonna have to go to my website and bring up the actual article that has the source in there that the ones in Sudan are older than the ones in Egypt. I'll do that. Go ahead, Fear. You got your stuff up, brother?
Yeah, I uploaded the pictures into the group chat that on Twitter.
All right, let me bring it up real quick. Which one you want me to see? It's the last ones, of course. So let's see.
Yeah, the very last ones. They're just other examples of what the author was talking about. Different examples. You can, if you want, you can, because the screen is so small for me on my phone. If you read those out.
Yeah, so this one right here is Teotihuacan, Zion, Xian. I think I spelled that correctly. Giza in Orion's belt. And it says this is different images from Google Earth, where it says Goggle Earth. It doesn't say Google, it says Goggle. Yo, I'm telling you, I see mistakes. I try to make it a point not to have mistakes in my book. I haven't found one. I'm sure there's one in there somewhere. But man, it's like it just throws you off because I read it as I see it. But anyway, this is a different images from.
See if you've noticed that, because there's other ones in this book that I noticed too. There's like 3 or 4 more
of Google Earth. As you can see, there is also a 3 pyramid alignment in Teotihuacan, which is now near Mexico City in Central America. And you could definitely see. Here, let me bring it up. How it lines up on all of them. You can see how it lines up on all of them right here. You know what I'm saying? And the Giza, and then they got the Orion's belt right there. But not for nothing, I'll be honest with you guys. Here's another one. This is a different. Sorry, this is an image of Machu Picchu, Peru, which is in South America. Look at all those pyramids. But let me ask you, what do you see as pyramids right here?
What do I see as pyramids?
Yeah, the one that's figure 4. Yeah, where do you see the pyramids at?
If you on the rock that is on the left, or you see where the ridge is, like the big rock that's on the right. If you go where that little J hook is, there's pyramid steps right there, or what looks to be pyramid steps. But we also know that they did their agriculture in horizontal rows, so that could be a very good possibility as well. But in the very front, you can see little pillars that look like pyramids. I don't know. Never been to Peru, so I couldn't tell you, but it could be a possibility. I do see little tiny pyramid shapes there. As far as the mountains, if you look at the very, very top, at the very top right corner, the ridge line, it looks like 3 pyramids up there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about, hold on.
In the very, very far top right.
You talking about right here?
Yes.
Well, that's part of the mountain.
Is it?
Yep. Yeah, because you
Or
can
is
see
that
all that's the mountain.
further back? Because if you look really close, you can see a darker ridge line that hugs that
Oh,
that second mountain ridge.
okay. I see what you're saying. I don't have the book in front of me. I'm gonna get it though. I you keep talking about it. I'm definitely going to get it and do some back
Seriously,
research on it.
get it. Seriously, get it.
So let me ask you. So you think that we have because we have the oldest America or pyramids in the Americas, you believe that humans or humanity started in the Americas?
I believe, like you, that it just didn't start in one place. People migrated, and it started in multiple places, and then it started in multiple places when people migrated again. But I think the majority of it was over here in the western side of the world,
On the
just by
western side?
things being outdated, and like your example from earlier, the Grand Canyon, finding like a whole bunch of different cultures and stuff, and especially Egypt stuff that's been inside there. There had to have been some sort of, commerce between them, or contact. But later on, there's the video that shows that fact as well, because there was Mayan that lived in Egypt.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Does it have any dates of any artifacts in there?
Dates of artifacts.
Yeah, like what's the oldest date for an artifact? I'm trying to find in my website where I wrote that article at.
As far as the Grand Canyon, I don't know, but from this right here, the America has the oldest mummies. That to me, you know,
What's the date for it?
the date for this mummy,
Yeah.
9,400 years old.
Oldest mummies in the world.
Look up the spirit cave mummy from Fallon, Nevada.
Spirit cave money. Okay, spirit.
You can bring it up. I gave the reference.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up here on here. Okay, so yeah, it definitely has one that says the oldest human mummy. Okay, dates back in North America. Okay, this is on Wikipedia too, to 7420 BC. They also had one on hold on, you had one on this too. I have to go through the messages and see. Let me see, where's it at? Yeah, here we go.
I gave two different examples, one of the spirit cave mummy, and then the one from Chinchorro, from South America, North Chile, being the oldest ones.
Here you go, right here.
Yes.
That one right there. Hold on, let me see something real quick. I'm probably gonna mess it up. Yeah, I did. Hold on.
I'll read that paragraph above it if you want me to. Actually, I'd like to.
Hold on, I took it off for a sec. Oh, dang it. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, so here we go, right here. The Spirit Cave mummy from Spirit Cave. It says, which is 9,400 years old. Okay, this is the oldest mummy in the world. And it's in the Americas. Let me bring something up. That's pretty interesting, though. Dang it. So, yeah, on Wikipedia, it says the same thing. It says it goes back. And actually says the spirit mummy, a new one, says that is a 10,600-year-old ancestor of the Fallon Paiute tribe. So let me bring that up. Okay, so all right, here we go. See, this is why I like comparative study discussions, because this right here is crazy. I didn't know the oldest mummy was in the Americas.
Yeah.
I always thought it was China.
Let me read the rest of this. Let me read the rest of that paragraph. It might put a little things more in perspective. It says this archaeological anthropological evidence demonstrates that the Americas is the true old world. Scholars should be looking into the Americas for the oldest civilizations, because the oldest mummies are in the Americas. Their scientific approach on where to look should be completely opposite, based upon all the evidence in the Americas being the old world. Common sense tells me to look in the Americas for the oldest civilizations because the oldest mummies have been found in the Americas. So
That's interesting. That word civilization. See, it's not that they hold the oldest humans. They hold the oldest civilization. So that makes more sense, right? And that's I agree with that, because if everybody has their own meaning of a civilization, right? It changes depending on the narrative somebody's trying to pick. Some people say the writing system. Like I took a class from Bar Ilan University, and from Dr. Nili Samit, and she says that, and she said in her class that I took, that the oldest civilization is the Sumerians because of their writing system, which goes back 3,200 years. Now, you always hear me say that, and I agree with that because they're given their definition of what a civilization is. Now, I don't believe that they're the overall oldest civilization on this planet for two reasons. One, there's places that's underwater right now that we can't get to or really dig for because it's underwater. So that also indicates that that's an older civilization. And two, a writing system, she says, is the pictographic script, which is the civilization that the Sumerians had, and they started off with their writing system. You will find pictographic scripts all around the world, predating the 3,200 years. You have the hieroglyphs in Africa that go back possibly 10,000 years, depending on the people and individuals that you going to get your information from, or the pictographic script that's in all around the world, including the ones in France with their animals. It tells a story. It's not a long and detailed story, but a lot of people think that a fucking cuneiform tablet is actually a book size. A cuneiform tablet is no bigger than this sometimes, right? So, and they're really small. So
sometimes they're literally the size of a pen. It's just in a square model, and it's got all their shit written right on it vertically.
Exactly. So what you're saying has more updated information. Fear. The spirit cave, okay, it's a member of the Fallon Payet Shashan tribe, have claimed cultivation affiliation with the mummy and wish to give him a proper burial. So they believe that's their ancestor, right? So here it goes. It talks about it right here. You see how it says in the 1940s, they discovered in a small rocky alcove in the Great Desert in Nevada. It wasn't until 50 years later that new testing will reveal its actual age and earn it the title of the world's oldest mummy. So it took 50 years after they found it to give it a proper date. Okay. Now, I like that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because now you know why I'm really going to get this book now. Is because it's going to explain what the fuck a civilization is in their eyes. and see, that's why I'm glad you did that, because see, this is how comparative studies happen. Okay. I know from academia that they say the Sumerians are because of their writing system. I'll bring up what supposedly Margaret Mead said. So she had a lecture or a discussion about with some college students. I can't remember exactly. Let me bring this up. Let me bring it up. Okay, here we go. This is interesting, because you got the mummies that says about 10,000 years, right? But this was what Margaret Mead said. She was an anthropologist who digs into the origins of the a trip. Let me sure. According to a commonly shared story, the anthropologist Margaret Mead was supposedly asked by a student what she thought was the earliest sign of a civilized society, basically civilization, right? Because some people say civilized and civilization plays a part together, but that doesn't. You got to remember, and I'll show you what civilized means in a minute. If for the people who don't know, earliest sign of a civilized society. There are many variations of this anecdote, but the general details are similar. To the student's surprise, Mead replied that the first sign of civilization, okay, they say civilization, is a healed human femur, the long bone that connects the hip to the knee. Me proceed to explain, as the story goes, that wounded animals in the wild would be hunted and eaten before their broken bones could heal. Thus, a healed femur is a sign that a wounded person must have received help from others. Mead is said to have concluded helping someone else through difficulty is where the civilization starts. That's a quote that they say. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. I don't know how accurate that is. This is her right here. She conducts an interview on the United Nations radio in 1952, and she said, and some examples from past to be in line with the anecdote, pointing to elaborate human efforts to care for the injured as sapiens communists. Stephen Nash wrote of an ancient Publian woman who suffered a fall and received the medical care some 800 years ago. Love and often inexorable will to live can push the human body to do remarkable things, blah, 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 blah. But the point is that they say, and they always got to have, chimpanzees and monkeys everywhere for their arguments. But they say that that's what she defines as a civilization. So,
I I disagree with her definition, but the concept I'll agree with. Like, it doesn't start with mending other people or help. Like, the civilization starts with a group of people, and then you have to coerce together. It's not the start of just like mending to someone that's in need of help. That's no, I disagree with her like her definition of it. But conceptually, yeah.
I don't agree with it either. And this is why I don't agree with it. Human nature, we that would mean, first of all, we learned how to have empathy, and it's not natural, first of all. Okay. Part of being human, that means we have to be taught to have empathy. And I don't agree with that, because if you look at kids, congratulations to Lil Vibe and his family for having another kid. This perfect time to put it in there. Kids do the most loveliest things in the world. They have no hate in their heart. They don't have no anger, none of that. They just want to be fed, played around with, and and sleep. That's it, right? Like that's all they want to be, right? Sometimes you can't ever get any rest because your kid either wants to play with you, wants to cry, wants to want something. You can't speak to them, so they're crying for a reason. But my point is that every animal takes care of their own. I've seen in the animal world where a bird would bring food to a wounded bird that can't fly with wings. I've seen that. I've seen animals. I seen a monkey actually take a dog out the well. Let me see if I can find that video real quick. So I've seen you can see all around the world that other animals helping each other out, right? Always. You can see even some animals playing the game like humans do. I seen this one dog walking in the middle of the street, and I can't remember what country it was, but they was walking and they couldn't use their hind legs, or they was acting like they couldn't use their hind legs. So some people would go up there and give it some food, right? And next thing you know, it popped up his little hind legs, took the food, and walked off. Like, oh, I'm gonna use my disability over you to get you to feel sorry for me, right? Like that's crazy. So hold on, let's see. I'm getting a message. Okay, anyway. So yeah, so I don't agree with that either, Fair. I don't agree with that. I mean, everybody, like I said, everybody has their own reasons. Pyramids going back 10,000 years, that means that people had to work together. not just one or two, maybe three people working together. It took a community of individuals to put that thing together, and that's very hard to do. And I'll give you a great example of that. Look at the UFO community right now on Twitter. Everybody wants disclosure, but they arguing about how in the hell how to get it. You know what I'm saying? Or who's paying who for what? If you know somebody's a disinformant person, disinformation gives disinformation, then it's going to come out, right? Really look at the community.
Mhm.
You get, some people like to create their own words. So now you look up their words and research their words, you're confused because you can't find it. So now you got to go back to the original, and it just takes things away. Nobody wants to really work together. And that's why I say you just use the dictionary, you use the etymological dictionary, and you get to what you actually believe a civilization is. Because I believe a civilization started by people working together. I don't think, take care of somebody because they're sick or hurt or injured is a thing. Maybe your ass is just lonely and you just said, shit, if I'm lonely, you lonely, shit. If you leave and die, then I'm gonna be lonelier. You know what I mean? It could have been for a selfish reason. We don't know that, right? But burying somebody respectfully or in a ritual means that you believe that there's something outside of Earth's lifetime. That's what they say about the Egyptians, right? So yeah, I kind of winded on that. Go ahead, Fear. My bad, bro.
Okay. Next thing I wanted to go into was the Mayan. What do y'all think about the Mayans? Basically, what if they civilized the Egyptians?
Well, that's interesting because I got the codexes. um, it's interesting. I don't think they civilized the Egyptians. I think, okay, so this is my thing. If you look at every major civilization, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Peruvians, the Machu Picchu people, the indigenous people of Native America, the Russian, their ancestors, who else? The Australians. Every civilization started around 3500 BC, give or take. It's around that 3000 time frame. I'm telling you, look at the civilization of the Mayans and tell me what day it is. Look up the civilization of the Aztecs, the Toltecs, the Olmecs, and you'll see. Because when I talked about the Sumerian civilization starting because of their pictographic script in 3200 BC, when they started writing about gods, like the Anuna / the Anunnaki, it wasn't until 18th century BCE. That's on from the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature. I'm not going to have to lie to you guys. I bring it up. I brought it up before. Their time frame, and it's only about 400 literary writings. Compositions is what they say. So they say around, look, early second millennium BC. Right there from their website. And when you read their book, like I have, and I can bring the book up too, the literature of ancient Sumer, or I think that's what it's called. It says 18th century BCE on the back. So that's the same time frame. Now you going from 3200 BC. That's almost 1,000. That's over 1,000 years later, man, give or take. When they started writing about their gods, because this is where you get all about the Anuna / the Anunnaki. Look, Anuna. I type it in, and boom. This is when they started talking about it. So now look up the Mayans and when their codexes started. Hold on, I got the books right here. I'm pretty sure I got it tabbed up.
Well, when you're done, I'd love to
No,
read
go ahead.
some of this to you.
Go ahead.
Okay. You don't have to bring up I gave you the link to a site for this article, but you don't have to bring it up since you're looking up your stuff right now. I'll just read it. This article, or I'll just read it from here. This article proves that the oldest civilization was in the Yucatan and in Central America, and that Egypt was the first people by immigrants from the Yucatan. This article gives 6 facts to support it. The article states in pertinent part, after correlating all data that's been made public to the present time, the conclusion is unavoidable that the oldest civilizations was in the Yucatan and Central America. Future discoveries many change this conclusion. It seems that Egypt was the first people by immigrants from the Yucatan. Space will only allow a few facts that clearly indicate the truth from this assertion. First, I'll read all six. The first pyramids of the Yucatan are some of them much larger than any found in Egypt. That of Cheops not accepted. Second, the pyramids of Egypt bear structural evidences of having been modeled on those of the Yucatan, notably one at the Coloma, which covers 23 acres. Third, the early Egyptians and the Mayas of the Yucatan had the same system of reckoning time, but the Mayans developed a system that was for superior and which antedated that of Egypt. Fourth is the Mayas manufactured a cement that was of the same material as that of ancient Egypt. The fifth one is architecture of Yucatan is of the same general types as that of ancient Egypt, but is finer and seems to have been a model that Egyptians attempted to imitate. Sixth is the art of both centuries, as displayed in their ceramics and architecture, is of the same type or school, that of the Yucatan being much more highly developed. According to one of these traditions, a portion of the Mayas, about 40,000 years ago, rebelled against the ruling king and finally withdrew to the north. This branch seems to have passed along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico and to have reached Louisiana and the lower Mississippi Valley between 30,000 and 35,000 years ago. A few years ago, some caissons were sunk for a bridge pier on Bayou La Forge, Louisiana, at a depth of about 62 feet. Some graves were uncovered. They had been made on the sandy beach of the Gulf of Mexico and had been covered with oyster shells. The present the present coast is about 110 miles from that point. The average thickness of the freshwater mud so far surveyed is not less than 40 feet from the point of the Gulf of Mexico coast or the Gulf Coast. Taking the average amount of solid matter mud that has annually passed down the Mississippi River from these delta and Gulf plain, and we have a measuring unit. The United States government observations made daily since 1872 gives the annual amount at 57,872,000 cubic yards per year. By this unit, these graves are at least 29,000 years old. From the lower Mississippi, these people spread over much of the central portions of North American continent, especially throughout the valleys of the Ohio and Mississippi and the Lake region. They seem to have been the original mound builders. That's
crazy.
That's where I land the plane.
Hold on, let me read this back up for us. All right. Yeah,
So
that's
what do you think about those? The little factoids.
I see. That's what I'm saying is that they're giving you. He's giving information on what he considers a civilization, and he's backing it up with certain sources that he's found useful for his argument. And I agree with that. And like I said, I have the Maya Codex right here. So this one right here is the Codex Borgia. I guess I said that correctly. I'm not sure. But and all it is really, it's no writing. All it is just basically, that's the beginning of it. It's basically, and it's still, that's pictures of it. These are just, it's literally just pictures of their writing system, and it tells you. So the beginning of it is basically telling you what the description of each plate is. So like, let me see. Let me go to the first one. So this is the first plates that it talks about, right? And I'm sorry. I got to go from the beginning. These are the first plates because it starts at the back at first. These are the plates, right? And then right here in the front, it gives you, and I'll be going over it in the future. What each plate means. And I know you can't see the words, but I'm just showing showing that I have the source. So it's telling you the story. And this one is basically, it was supposed to be found in a book form. You just do a quick research on here. It's pretty interesting how they found this and how it almost got lost in because of children, right? It's crazy. Then this one right here, this is just a regular book, but it has weird types of their thing. And I know you can't really see it well. Let me see. Let me bring myself up. Maybe I can bring myself up.
When you're done, I got two more things.
All right. Yeah. So
Oh, I
this
see that. That's cool.
yeah. So that's this one, and this is supposed to be the oldest text. What was it? What did it say? I want to repeat what it says. It says the Dresden Codex, also known as the Codex Dresdenensis, is a pre-Columbian Maya book of the 11th or 12th century of the Yucatan Maya and Chichen Itza. This Maya codex is believed to be a copy of an original text of some 300 or 400 years earlier, right? It is the oldest book written in Americas known to historians. So it's basically just an actual book. I hate when that happens. It's supposed to be like their Bible, right? Like their book, because Bible means book and whatnot. So when we look at the hieroglyphics in Egypt, they definitely predate this time frame by far. So that's why I don't think the Mayans civilized Egypt. But I do know that, and this is the last thing I'll say, the book they came before Columbus. That book right there tells you where the Olmecs actually possibly came from, and I think it starts with the M. I don't have the book. I have the book in my library. I can go grab it real quick. But I'll be going over it in the future.
This book gives reference to the Olmecs too, the Olmecs being old Mexicans. They never really disappeared.
Yeah, well,
no, I'm not joking. Like this author gives the sources for it too. It's weird.
Yeah,
I never would. Sorry, I don't mean that audio delay. I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
No, you good.
But it's just weird how like Olmecs, like it's a duh moment. It's like how it's an acronym like old Mexicans. It's like, what the fuck? Why didn't we think about this earlier? It's just that simple. It just they never really disappeared. They just intermingled.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think they became I believe the Olmecs became the Mayans, Toltecs, and Aztecs, and so on and so forth. I think they became them. But what I'm saying is, I'll grab the book in a second too, because I'm pretty sure I have it tabbed up. But in the book, he actually gives you a place in Africa that the Olmecs possibly came from, and his evidence is because the big old Olmec heads. And he says that there's only a certain place in this world where the oldest tribes in Africa that still use those type of headdresses. And I believe it starts with the M, and I can't remember exactly. Like I said, I'll go look for it. I'm pretty sure I have it tabbed up somewhere. But that's supposedly be the Olmecs are supposedly come from somewhere on the west side of Africa. And they didn't come here on purpose. They came here by mistake. A lot of people say that when they went fishing, the further out they went fishing, the current would catch them and make them go in other places. And a lot of times, a lot of individuals, men and women, would go fishing together, because in Africa, women and men did the same duties. If a man couldn't go hunt and a woman could, that man would be replaced with that woman. You know, in Western civilization, the woman stayed at home, but they had women who would be breastfeeding other babies. So it wasn't just, back in the slavery days when white women didn't want to breastfeed their women, they would let the African slaves breastfeed their women, their children. That's the same concept that a lot of African tribes would do, is that, yeah, they had a community, and the woman, has certain duties just like a man had duties. But if those duties couldn't be fulfilled by a man or a woman, like if there was a man that was hurt that couldn't do anything, he would have to learn how to cook and provide the food and take care of the babies and so on and so forth. And the woman that could would do that, just like that. Remember that newest Predator movie with that, when the main character is the female, and all them dudes was mad at her because she was way better at hunting than they were, basically. So
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm getting ready to watch it tonight. I already have it pulled up.
So yeah, that you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So back then, in those time frames, it was an accident. But go ahead, man. I'm gonna have my wireless headset on, and I'm gonna go grab this book real quick just so I could see where exactly they said it came from.
Okay, I'm gonna read these couple pages, and then I'll after that that video that I posted up, I need you to bring that up because this kind of goes into that.
Yeah, we'll play that video next, right after.
Okay. Let's see. I'll just finish off reading up where I left off earlier. The above said article is very significant because it mentions the mound builders. Mound builders. Who were the mound builders? Well, the mound builders were also known as the ancient ones, aka the Washita or the Moors, who are the oldest indigenous people on the planet according to the United Nations. Um, this is, okay, the oldest burial remain. That's where that last article or part left off, but this one right here, the oldest burial remains of modern day humans was found in Louisiana and the lower Mississippi Valley. What's also significant about the said article is that it gives evidence of the Mayas reaching Louisiana and the lower Mississippi Valley between 30,000 years ago, and the article gives evidence of the Mayan burial remains, graves that are 29,000 years old, which is older than any burial remains of modern day humans found thus far anywhere. The famous bones of Lucy that were found in Africa do not count as the oldest bones of modern day humans because Lucy was not a modern day human. Lucy was a hominoid ape species that the Charles Darwin theory of evolution rests upon. Because academics profess that modern day men evolved from Lucy, aka apes. But America's is the oldest landmass. This is well, not really the last thing I gotta read, but further evidence support that the said article can be found in the book Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx by August Lee Longion. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, dude. Um, but the Mayas were of the ancestors of the Egyptians. Like the Mayas, the Egyptians regarded the West as the region of darkness, the place where the souls of dead returned to the bosom of their ancestors in the realm of Amenti. Their king Osiris sat at a throne in the midst of the waters. There also it was that Thoth performed his office of scribe, was then worship of the Sinisafla, or I can't pronounce that word, his totem brought to Egypt from the land of the West. Pythagoras borrowed his knowledge of numbers and their meanings from the Egyptians. These received their science from the Mayas, those civilized strangers, their ancestors, who in remote ages, coming from the east, from the west, uh, coming from the east and from the west, had settled and brought civilization to the banks of the Nile. And such being the case, it is but natural that we should find. Damn it, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I can't really find them right now. Um, and such being the case, it is but natural that we should find the same doctrine regarding cosmology, cosmogony, and the meaning of numbers in the Maya, their mother country, and the lands of the West. The Maya sages doubtless had reached their similar conclusions since they called their country Mayak. This, that is the land of the first emerge of the bosom of the deep, the country of the shoot, and the Egyptians, according to Herodotus, boasted that their ancestors in the land of the West were the oldest men on earth. Evidence to support the above statement coming from the Queen Mu book, Mayak, that is the land that first emerged from the bosom of the deep. It can be found by John Lewis Agassiz' book, Geological Sketches of 1866. Chapter 1, America is the True Old World. According to Jean Louis Rodolphe Agassiz, a renowned biologist and geologist from Harvard, America is the Old World, and he states as follows. First born among continents, America has falsely denominated the New World. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters, Ours was the first shore washed by the ocean and enveloped the earth besides, and while Europe was presented only by islands rising here and there above sea, America, Atlantis, already stretched in an unbroken line of land from Nova Scotia to the far west. End quote. Evidence to support that fact that the Mayas are the ancestors of the Egyptians can be found in the tomb of the Maya, the temple of the Maya in Egypt. Because there is a Maya on the wall that is dressed in Kemet Egyptian garb. Arthur and tour guide Brian Forrester and Stephen Miller walk us through the temple of the Maya to show us the evidence here. And if you can bring up that video, this video evidence proves contact between the two cultures, but I will take a step further by giving you Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's book. They came in
Yeah,
quotation.
we got it right here.
Yeah.
Cool. And Dr. Summers said book demonstrates contact between Egypt and the Americas with the evidence of all the agricultural trade for items like tobacco, cocaine, maize, which is corn, pineapples, and etc., which all I just listed are not only native to the Americas, so that they were definitely contact between South American Indians and the Egyptians. I strongly believe that the punt was in South America. I strongly believe that this, because the Egyptians do come from Punt, Ethiopian, and both nations, Mayas and Egyptians, did trading, commerce, or business together, which is evident when you look at Pharaoh Hatshepsut temple engraving, which depicts a maize corn, cob, a pineapple, both which are indigenous to the Americas, said figures 10 and 11, which I give you the pictures of the maize and the pineapple. It just is strong evidence that Punt was in South America. That the Punt was in South America, because the Egyptians showed that their temple engraving what they had brought from Punt, which had been in the Americas, South America, because maize and pineapples are only indigenous to the Americas. Punt is akin to Ethiopia because Punt, like Ethiopia, is considered to be the birthplace of Egypt, both which were in the Americas, because Atlantis was in the Americas, mostly South America, as he later demonstrates in this book. But if you could bring up that video.
Yeah, I got it right here. So yeah, so what you're talking about. So this guy actually, this is where, remember when I was talking about the Olmecs coming from a place in Africa? He literally says they came from Mali, Mali. I just wanted to verify that. It's actually right here. You can see it right there. Now, if you look at the map of today of that area, is broken up with Senegal. It's different. It's a different country. So actually, all that at one time was Mali. And you probably can't see it, but if you pull up the map, and he actually says that, and that's why I said that the reason why, because there's a certain group of people in Africa that wore those type of headdresses. In Africa, every culture wears a different type of mask. You got the Dogon tribe that you look at theirs different. You look at the Nigerians, they have theirs different. And then these are like the headdresses like the Romans, the helmets and stuff like that. That's why they do it. That's why when you actually, and it's so funny because the argument where the braids came from is so stupid, because when you look at the Olmecs, and he has pictures of it, if you turn them around, they have braids. They're braided hair, just like how we would have them today in 2025. It's interesting that you brought that. He talks about Ivan Van Sertima from this book, because a lot of people, and I'll say it, a lot of people who are racist, who do not want to believe in the African theory, they say they don't use this guy's book, but this guy literally gets all his information from academia and people who are white individuals. He literally says this is what is backed up in documentation, and the arguments, like he says in his book, like you can see, I already have a lot of tabs on it, and I'll be going over it in the future. Like, hey, once you finish reading your book, let me know what tabs. Let me know when you want to go over, and I can give you the tabs that I found interesting, and you'll probably be like, what the fuck? Because here, I'll bring it up real quick before we go on to this video, because we only got like 30 minutes left anyway. I want to find that tab.
I'm done. But whenever you're done looking at what you're doing, if you want to show that video.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up. Okay, here we go. He says, we have pointed to Egyptian influence on the shipping of the Far East. Egyptian ships also visit the Somali coast of Africa, Punt, which you was just talking about. In East Africa, however, shipping, though of a great antiquity, owes less to early Egyptian than to a much later Arab influence in the Indian Ocean. So that's where when you were talking about punt and stuff like that. He talks about a lot is known today about these currents from Africa to America. So basically, remember when I was telling you that people would get in a boat and they would go out a certain degree or a certain depth, and then the current would take them somewhere else. Okay, so there's two main currents: the Guinea, I can never say Guinea current, Guinea, the Guinea current, and the Canaries current are relevant to our study. And he says that from these currents right here is what gives us the people that migrated to these places right here. So that's basically what he says on there. And this is the last tab that I'll go over. Here we go. This is what's interesting, because remember you said the oldest civilizations, he says that are in the Americas versus Africa. Well, I don't know. I disagree with that now from what you read, because they said that they were trading with Egyptians. A lot of people say that trading is a beginning of civilization, right? Because that's people working together to better off whatever country they're in or group of people. But this is what's interesting. And this is also backed up in historical documents. He says this was also so he says the Peruvian oral tradition, basically a mythology or a myth or whatever people would like to call it, traditional oral story, tells of a black man coming to them across the Andes to procure rain. To procure rain, the Peruvian Indians sacrificed black sheep in the field. The Africans of the West Africa sacrificed sheep, black fowl, the blood of a black oxen, and black cattle. So that's where he's saying that they give the similarities for their sacrifice. So this book right here and that book right there, I got to see why I want to see more. And now bringing up this video that you're talking about, the title stands out to me. It says, could the Maya civilization have visited Egypt? I have no doubt in my mind that's not a possibility. That's a possibility. And the reason why I say that's a possibility is because we talked about the currents right here. Those currents would get you back and forth without any hard work. So we're going to go ahead and play this video. And also we have to remember, well, I'll say it after this. We'll play it. Tell me if you guys can hear it. Hold on.
Yeah.
I can't hear it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It went out. Did it go out for y'all?
Yep.
Yeah.
It went out for me too. What the hell?
Culture, exactly. Times. Maya.
I think it did that for me in the beginning
Absolute
too.
special access.
Yeah,
Today, we get to enter the tomb of Maya.
Stephen, please. Well, this is a chapel or a temple of Maya. Now, Maya was a title, not a name, of both men and women throughout dynastic times. This particular era is around the 18th dynasty, the time of the so-called King Horeb. Now, the key thing here is 1997, Hakim came to the United States to California. He and my research partner, Bob Butter, and I met him for a couple of weeks, and we discussed. One of the things he discussed on a return trip to Egypt in September of 1997 would be, he said, he would show us evidence of a Mayan temple in Egypt.
Mayan as in culture.
Exactly. And I said, this I never heard of. No, it's not in any text. No one has ever mentioned it. Okay, we came here. This was arranged differently then. A lot of this is new construction. It was not this way in 1997. First of all, I looked on the wall. Behind you see that is Maya, but it looks typically Commission.
Right.
And I'm looking around, typically commissioned, all it looks. So Hakim would use the expression, well, you know, Stephen, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. He's living in Kemet, he's going to pass in Kemet, so he's portraying himself as a Commission. So I said, well, Papa, this is great, but I can't go with this in front of an academic audience. They'll laugh me off the stage. There's nothing here to identify with the culture we're talking about. But then there was a keeper like this gentleman here, was here, didn't speak any English, but saw that I was perplexed. He said, come here. This then was boarded up with just a wooden door. And there was latches there. He threw away the wooden slabs, opened the door, and he said, look up. And that is the key. Took a picture in 1997, sent it to Mayan daykeeper Hanbat's men. He said he recognizes this as the language of the Itza people, whereas Chichen Itza, he said, is an ancient language. But a lot of people are not sure about Hanbat's men. So we went one step further. In 2010, I got to meet Don Alejandro Sul Ojaj. He is the wisdom keeper, the head of the Quiche Maya of all of Guatemala. I showed him this picture, and his eyes went as big as saucers. And he said to me, that is the language of my ancestors. That is a calendar. That is telling the date of when Maya was here. And how we can't read it, he can't even still read it, but he knows that the circles and squares and different colors, arrangements, and the spokes in the wheel are indications of a date. So, this has never been discussed by any Egyptologist. They cannot put this in a Commission context. There is nothing, or maybe there is others that are just missing it, but there's nothing like this in the rest of Egypt. So, Mayan elders recognize this as part of their culture. So now the key is, Maya, the word is a title. Men and women had the title. Very interesting, because we've talked about the difference between Egyptian Arabic and other Arabic. In Egypt, one of the key words for water is Maya. It is not pronounced the same way in any other Arabic country. If you went to Saudi Arabia, they would say Ma or Meh. Only in Egypt is it pronounced Maya, and it means water. So I asked Hakim, could the title Maya actually have meant he who came from across the water, or ones who came from across the water? He said, yes. So here is what we call diffusionism archaeology, diffusionism anthropology, saying that there had to be cultural contact between these individuals thousands of miles across the sea. And this is the evidence that Hakim told us that there was a Mayan living in Egypt 3,300 years ago. Let somebody else define that for me and tell me that that is Commission or Egyptian or dynastic or anything else.
So my question to both of y'all now is, do you believe that the Mayans influenced the Egyptians, especially with the pyramids? Because the pyramids in the Americas are older than the ones in Egypt.
Well, when you say influence, that's interesting, because like I said, there's and let me bring this up too. There's pyramids in Sudan that's older than both of them. So I don't think personally that the Mayans influenced them. I think they may have influenced artistic views. And I say that because here, let me show you. Remember he was talking about squares and circles? If you can't find that in Maya, in the Mayan civilization, or I mean in the Egyptian civilization, then that's fine. But you can definitely see that the Mayans definitely had squares and circles. That's why I was pulling it up. That's that's in their stuff. But the first thing that he showed with that I can't remember if it was a goddess or a god or
It was a person with braids.
Yeah, that when you look at the Mayans, here, and I bring this up too, they don't depict their humans or their individuals like that. They depicted their individuals. Hold on. Let me do a better one. This is how they depicted their individuals. That's their, so that first one looked Egyptian to me and didn't look Mayan at all.
That's why that's why you said that guy went off the phrase, when in Rome, do as Romans do. So wear the garb if you're in the culture. But I agree with you. I mean, they would have depicted it at least somewhat differently.
Yeah, you would see something like this in their in that. Like that's what the whole book, you can see dark brown to what we would consider black individuals, right? That's how they depicted their people.
They would at least wore something of their culture along with the garb to represent themselves.
Exactly, 100%. That's what I'm saying. That's what I believe too. I believe 100% that they would have used something more to that effect. But that squares and circle things, I definitely believe that. And maybe, just maybe, the person that he showed, the person that person that he showed was a mixture of Mayan blood, right? They could have been Egyptian and Mayan. Like something like I'm my mother's German, my father's black. You know what I'm saying? And they would represent. I would have, like, I have the German flag tattooed on. I have the Turkish flag because I'm Turkish. I have the Turkish flag on me and the German flag tattooed on me. You know what I mean? But I don't have no African flag or any African continent on my body, right? So when people look at me, they're going to be like, well, we're going to look at his skin. They'll be like, he's either German and Turkish. But then when you get down to the DNA, you'll be able to see that I'm mixed with multiple things. And this is on my left arm, you know, full sleeve and everything. And it's interesting. So I don't think they influenced them. I've always said that I've always found the Mayans pyramids more aesthetically pleasing than the ones in Egypt. Egypt to me looks like a pile of rocks with just a sophisticated way of doing it, right? It looked like they got lazy and it's like let me put it like this. When you're doing something, you're putting something together, right? And let's just say you're missing that one screw, or you're trying to hurry up and do something. You're not going to make it perfect at the end. Most people rush at the end for some reason. I've done it when I was building things, and I can guarantee you they probably did too. They was like, okay, it's getting a little too hard to put these stones accurately. Let's just pile them on top. But the certain parts of it had to be foundationally put together. And you can look at the pyramids. They say, and you know what I heard people say about the pyramids, they say that, you know, the rocks look like that because of the fact that earthquakes happened and stuff like that. Let's look at a real quick good picture of the pyramids right now. Let me bring this up. Oh shoot, screen share. So you could see you see how in the back. Oh come on, let's just bring the website up. Anyway, so let me bring this up. So you can barely see it though, but let's see if this works. Yeah, here we go. Let me bring this screen up better. So you can see how in the background they're all messed up looking, right? They're not really put together, shaped in any kind of way. And people say it's because of the earthquakes and stuff like that, which I 100% believe. But they also said that it had limestone all the way around it, the white stone that was all the way around it to fix it up. And I just look at it like this. I think the pyramids are extravagant. I love them. I think they're beautiful. But the ones in
I have a picture of the pyramids with bricks.
With bricks?
Literally. Hold on.
Like I like they're amazing pyramids. Don't get me wrong. I just like the ones here. Here's a good example of what I was trying to say. The top of the pyramids. If you can see that. You know what? Let me see if you know what. Let me stop sharing. Let me bring up a bigger picture of it. I hate how it does this. There we go. All right. So this is how the top of the pyramids look, right? They're like, now you can see right here. This is not. I don't think an earthquake broke that, because where's that piece at, right? Look at this shit. Look how it's put on there, right? It looked like somebody rushed on the top, right? If you look at all the ones below it, if stuff fell down and broke it, that's fine, but you can definitely tell that they weren't all lined up correctly. Look at this shit. I'm not making it up. Like, look at this one. This one's a totally different stone than this one. Okay. Like, why is this so dark right here?
Okay, I uploaded the picture of the group chat.
All right, cool. Let me bring it up. This is from the book. Oh yeah, no. I seen that. Oh, okay. I was about to say I seen that before.
Yeah, I posted it up a long time ago.
Yeah, I probably seen it from you.
Bricks.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is because people had to adjust that just for their stuff. And that's why I said, if you look at the ones in Maya in Mesoamerica, they look more aesthetically pleasing than the other ones. right? It's just to me, it's interesting that 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 people put so much into the pyramids in Giza, because I don't think they're the best ones. I mean, they're mysterious, yeah, but I mean, I don't think they're the best ones, and I don't know how long it took them to build and stuff like that. But I can tell you personally, and look, if you look at these pyramids, what are these fucking holes right here in these stones? What the hell does that do? What the hell is that? Now look at it. Now that could be a type of nub that they use to move the things. Now let me tell you to think about this for a second. All these other stones, they probably were too lazy and just said, yo, just put these stones up there. It don't matter, don't care. Look, this one right here, these two right here, they're cut. If you can't really see it, but if you scroll in, you can see the little connection right there, right? You can see some things that don't make sense. Now look at it. They put the good looking side on the outside and you can't tell what it is on the inside. Let's start pulling some of these stones out and see what's on the other side of them. I guarantee you're going to see some shit that they use to move them. Like this doesn't make sense. Like on the top of it, look at almost every single one of them has some kind of hole in it, minus the ones that you can't see. Like you could tell these two were a stone together. They got cut by the same stone. You can definitely tell that they were cut by the same stone. Some of them you definitely can. Like right here, look at this shit. An earthquake caused that? Come on, man. How often does earthquakes happen there? First of all, right? To allow that to happen. But look at this stone right here. This
I've
one
seen
looks
this picture
almost blue.
before. I have a theory on that. I think that because they still needed to stack the stones towards the top, but they also used those stones themselves from like the staging itself. They just
Yeah.
like they took the scaffolding and broke it down. Like those holes, I think, is what they were used to like for to put their apparatuses on, like their pulley systems or like their counterweight systems, something to lock it in place. That way, it doesn't slide all over or dig into the sand. That's
Yeah.
my theory on those holes. That and the
Yeah,
nub, I believe it's also because of that staging and their pulley systems being able to like lift certain stones if they did use that method.
yeah, I agree with you. I just that's why I say I don't find them, aesthetically pleasing. What I will say is like I said, if we go to the Homo sapiens, right? We come from Africa, right? We got to use that 233,000 plus or minus new date that they came out with, right? Now, if we find bones in North America that are Homo sapiens are classified as Homo sapiens that are older than that, then we can't help but go off of Homo sapiens arriving from America. Now the question is, where did humanity begin? Well, that's why I say, what do people consider human, and what do they use as an anatomic human? Because they also say that the language didn't start till about, I think, like 1 point something million years ago. It's about 1 million years ago when language started. I wrote an article on it on my website. So I do believe that Mesoamerica, both America, I think both I think the Americas and Egypt, or Africa, I should say, because you have to go through West Africa before you can get to Egypt, right? You have to like the only way to trade from South America or in this area is to go here, then to here. So in reality, and back and forth too. So in reality, it depends on what species we have. Like I said, I did a discussion with Michael Kramer. You have artifacts, or not artifacts, evidence of humans going back 20 to 60 million years ago in America. Matter of fact, in California. I went over it on my book, and I actually did a podcast discussion with Michael Kramer. So he has evidence for that. So it's just whether you believe on aliens and whatnot. I believe, and I'll just be honest with you, and this is my personal opinion, and I don't really share my opinion too much, but I believe a lot of things that I've researched so far when it comes to writing, civilization, technology, and stuff like that, it resides in Africa. Somebody in Africa came up with a minimum small idea, and it eventually got us to where we're at today. Literally. I know a lot of people say pottery started either in Japan or in Mesopotamia, but there's pottery that is found in Africa that's older. I mean, it's weird. Just let's think of something. Let's do a test. Hey, Fear, what is? Give me an idea of what you think is one of the oldest inventions. I actually have a book
The
that
oldest,
had.
oldest, shit.
Take a minute to think about it. I'll be right back.
Fire.
Fire? You think fire is an oldest? Okay, let's see. Let's type that in.
I would say the most revolutionary. The first one would probably have had to either been a weapon of some sort or a hand tool.
Yeah, because fire would be kind of hard to pinpoint who used it. Let's see. The first, no, they can actually. The first campsite would be able to determine that. First campsite, oldest campsite. Let's see. Nah, that's not right. I put in the oldest campsite and brought up Fort McAllister State Historical Park in Georgia, and it's because it's a Civil War location. I actually did an article on that too and took pictures of that. I have to look at that up, but I actually have a book that says Black people invented everything, and it's pretty interesting. And I'll be going over it. It's literally. Let me go grab it real quick. Y'all talk among yourselves real quick. Let me go grab it.
So what do you think about this, bud? All this information.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man. Yeah, it's funny that von Sertima book, that's the one I was referencing in the beginning. I'm going through that one now and a few chapters in, but it's been fascinating to just read the connections between the African presence in America pre-Columbus and their intermingling with the peoples that were here and so on and so forth. So yeah, that Mayan thing was interesting in the Egyptian pyramid there, man. I definitely think they were traveling back and forth and all that with each other, doing trade and everything. I still tend to lean more toward some of the earliest civilizations being in Africa and everything like that. But I'm gonna finish going through that book and everything, and I have to check out this one you presented, Fear, because it has a lot of interesting components in it too and stuff. So I definitely think there's a lot of stuff here in America still to find. A lot of mounds and artifacts and things. So with all this technology we got coming out, it's gonna be an interesting time.
Right. I mean, I'm still like I've turned around. Like I no longer believe that the oldest civilization was like from Africa. I to me like for me the evidence says like if the pyramids are predate the ones that are in Egypt, and then there's obvious influence between the two cultures, the Egyptians weren't the oldest of the civilizations. Like to me that's just it to me. I mean, if you got older shit that predates all the other people, even though that there's other places that predate, these places as well, but still it shows that the evidence shows that this civilization was older than the ones in Egyptian dynasty. So that doesn't go as far back as like before the Sumerians and the Chaldeans. Like I don't know because I'm not a time frame historian. I'm more of just a factual researcher and historian, I guess you could say. But yeah, freaking, I'm a complete convert. Like the evidence, the mummies, the stuff being dated older over here. To me, that obviously should say to anyone that raise a red flag of like what mainstream academia is saying, and then this evidence that you barely hear about from anyone except for in books like us, because we're nerds. Like, what does that say? So, to me, this is it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, everybody talks about what makes a civilization, right? You're talking about the pyramids. Some people talk about writing systems. Both include working together because to teach somebody to read, you have to give somebody the opportunity to get to learn how to read and stuff like that. But this is where it gets interesting to me when people say that the Americas has the oldest civilization than Egypt. Egypt is not nowhere near the oldest civilization in Africa in the first place. Matter of fact, Egypt is one of the youngest civilizations in Africa. Okay. I have books that are from Nigeria that their civilizations go back almost 20, 30,000 years. And they have all facts. They have the way kings ruled. They weren't called kings, a certain word for them at that time. And they did trading, agriculture, and so on and so forth. And that's in Nigeria. You can go to Sudan, which has the older pyramids than Africa, than Egypt. They literally they had hundreds and probably thousands of pyramids, but a lot of them got destroyed by an Italian individual, and he took a lot of artifacts. And those pyramids in Sudan are older than the ones in the Americas and in Africa, Egypt. Now, you also have the idea of the pyramids in China. They say that the ones in China may be possibly older than the ones in both Africa in Egypt and Mesoamerica. So me personally, when it comes to the Mayans, you also have to remind the Mayans didn't start till about 2000 BC also, right? Their civilization started about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. They actually line up with the Mesopotamians. But then you also have the Dogon people, the Dogon tribe, who inhabited the land of Egypt before the Egyptians of what we know. You also have to remember it wasn't Egypt at first. It was called Kemet. That civilization goes way further before that, and that comes from Nubia, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Ethiopia actually has older civilizations than Egypt does. And that's why I say Egypt is one of the newest ones. That's why it's one of the baby versions of all the other civilizations. And just like Enigma likes to say, well, when did they have technology and so on and so forth and all that other stuff? Well, it depends on what you consider technology. If I don't need, there's there's Nathan. We got like 5 minutes in, Nathan. We about to get off, brother.
What's
Sorry,
up,
man.
But like when you were talking about the step pyramid was developed in 2592, that was developed in the third dynasty. You have all the dynasties before that. What's up, buddy?
Don't eat it.
Okay,
Don't eat it.
I won't.
Right now.
Okay. I love you. All right, so the dynasty, when we was talking about what that guy was talking about, the 2592 and 2544, that's the third dynasty, and that was one of the first pages you talked about, like, but what people call like early dynastic period, pre-dynastic period, whatever, that goes to 3000 BC. Of course, they didn't build pyramids like that in 10,000 years ago, but why would you need a pyramid for something? So now my next question would be, okay, the Mayans started around 2000 BC. So how did the Mayans influence the Egyptians on their pyramids? Well, it's possible because of the simple fact that the Peruvians actually had pyramids. The Peruvians had, or Peru, somewhere in Peru had the oldest pyramids, but we just seen that the date fluctuates. Some people give it to the Peruvians, some people give it to the Egyptians. But everybody wants to talk about the Egyptians and forget the Nigerians, the Ethiopians, the Sudans, Congo, Niger, Mali. You got all South Africa. Matter of fact, the oldest calendar on this planet, from what some people believe, is in South Africa, and it's called Adam's calendar and the Inky's calendar. So in reality, to me, I just say, there's a possibility. I'm going to buy that book, definitely. I'm going to see what it says. I like how it says that some of the oldest civilizations is there because of the mummy of 10,000 years. I mean, depends on what we can say that the oldest civilization started in 10,000 years ago, but guess what? They weren't building pyramids 10,000 years ago. They were only mummifying their mummies or their people. So if you're using the pyramids as an argument, the time frame between the Egyptians and the Peru is about the same, give or take 100 years. And that's not really a good conclusion for either one of them to be on top of the other. So we have to use something else, and possibly the mummy, right? What did the Egyptians do with their bodies 10,000 years ago? And maybe that might be part of our next discussion, because I will look into that, because I did not know that the oldest mummies was in the Americas. I always thought it was in China. And that's why a lot of times, a lot of people believe that China was the first civilizations and where humans came from. So I'm definitely going to do my due diligence tonight or later on today. I'm going to look into the Otis, what the Egyptians did with their bodies. The book that I want to talk about it that I'm going to go over after this is this right here. So we're going to end the stream right now. And we're going to keep it pushing, y'all. Now let's see, is it still going? Yeah, it's still going. So I'm going to end the stream after this. So this book right here, I bought this book because I wanted to know the inventions of what Black people contributed to the earth, right? Because when we talk about Twitters, there are a lot of people who are racist that say Black people didn't invent anything, right? And it's pretty funny because it's a lot of things that Black people invented. But here is, and this is what I did my due diligence on. I don't have any tabs on it because I haven't read the book yet. I just skimmed through it. I'm actually waiting to read this book.
I know one thing that excuse me one second. I know one thing that Black people didn't invent. So the
What's
book
that?
already lies in the title because Chinese people invented the fork. Did you know that?
The fork?
But they still use chopsticks.
Well, it depends on what you call a fork.
No, like actual utensil fork that you use with at the table.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to bring up the list. There's a list in here.
I remember hearing that one too, Via. That was cool. Funny, eh?
So it has a list right here. This is pretty interesting, this list. There's a list right here that gives you a quick checklist of all the things that Black people invented. And it goes on to, on the opposite page. And it goes on to the opposite page. Now, what's interesting about that is if you go through everything, and I'll be going through it, over it because I'm going to read it in the next few weeks. I skimmed through it because it has a table of contents that you can go and just look up certain things. But it goes from, it says agriculture, because, a lot of people say agriculture was developed outside of Africa, whereas they actually have stuff that predates it, and they have peer-reviewed articles. So what I'm going to do is, since it has a box next to it, I'm going to go through each one of them and give it a check mark if I can verify it by a peer-reviewed article or something like that. I don't think this guy that wrote this book, he's okay. So first of all, he's from India, or his family comes from India, and he's called a 5%er. Do you know what a 5%er is?
Mm-mm.
So it's more into it, you learn about it in old school hip hop with 5%ers. It's not a religion, it's a way of life, I guess you can say. And this is the thing. 5%ers can be Black, white, or Asian. They have a lot of 5%ers in those groups, and they just talk about the origins of humans. So like when you talked about the Mayans possibly influenced the pyramids with the Egyptians, they would tell you that the Mayans came from Africa and they will use scientific evidence. Like remember when you mentioned the book by Ivan van Sertima about what he says in that book. This man literally says that the Olmecs comes from Africa. So now my question is and I'm going to look into that book, is because I read this book, why does he say civilization? Because Ivan van Sertima actually says that the civilization started in Africa, right? So now this is where it comes into confusing with me. You use a source to back up one claim, but you ignore the other source that gives you information for another claim, which is, in his eyes, he says that the civilization started in the Americas, and one of his sources that he used to come up to part of his conclusion is Ivan van Sertima's book. But Ivan van Sertima says in this book that the civilization started in Africa. So now I want to know where he disagrees on with Ivan van Sertima, and I can go back and read Ivan van Sertima. They came from before Columbus. I can read his book and get the idea of
Well,
okay.
there's more that goes into that. Like he delves into more of the Olmecs later, or like a little bit, maybe like another page into it. But if you want next week, we can continue this and like go into that next part.
Hell yeah, and take pictures of it, because like I'm telling you, it's interesting. If the Olmecs came from Mali, then that means that the Olmecs influenced the Mayans, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and everybody else, right?
Yep.
But that information came from Mali. Now, I want you to understand something. In this book, Mali, according to all the white scholars and him that got the information from white scholars, says that Mali was considered the dwarfed Roman Empire. Now, think about that for a second. The dwarfed, meaning the mini version of the Roman Empire. What did the Roman Empire go do? They try to conquer the world. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So if the Mali are the dwarfed Roman Empire of that time, then guess what they would try to have conquered? Other lands around the world. So that's where it comes into who. It's not, to me, it's not about who influenced who. It's about where's the middleman at? Because like I said, Mali's not that is deep into Africa, bro. Deep into Africa. You got to go through a whole lot of land to get to it, right? So it's just interesting. I'm going to go over this book too, because this book is very interesting. I do want to read it. I just skimmed through it. But this guy right here that writes these books, I recommend reading his book, but his books are not for the faint. This dude calls people idiots. He says they're stupid. If you think I'm bad, reading this shit is not going to be fun. I'll be 100% with you, bro. And sometimes I don't even like the language he uses. Like he says white people sometimes, and he says race. He says white supremacy a lot. And I know what he's trying to do. He's separating the people from the negative people, right? But the point is that nobody's going to want to read your book if you're writing that. You can talk like that all day long. You can do that all day long, right? But once you put it in a book, it should be more professional. And I can tell you his book is not very professional. And what I mean by that is that I had to force myself to read his books because it's good information. It's good. I mean, it's good fucking information because he backs his shit up. He has a master's in history. Like, dude's not dumb. The problem is that I can listen to you calling people stupid. I just can't read it. I don't want you to call somebody stupid, because now you're telling the person that's reading your book that didn't know, which me, I didn't know a lot of stuff that he wrote in the book. You're basically calling me stupid. And you're not giving me a chance to learn something. You're already saying, "Oh, you're stupid for not learning this." Well, I bought this book to learn in the first place. When you're calling me stupid inside the book, so it's a good book, but it's a hard. His books are a hard read, and that's why I haven't read this book yet, because his books are really fucking hard to read. Like if he would have just did it very professional, he would have probably made some really good sales in his book. But his name is Dr. Supreme Understanding. But in this book, he uses, I guess, his regular name. He's a 5%er.
He really doesn't understand how he's writing.
And he has a lot of mistakes too. Like when we seen Gago in that book, he has a lot of mistakes in it. It makes you think like, damn, if you rush through this, like in the first 2 or 3 pages, he got like 5 or 6 mistakes. You have a degree, you have an educational background. Me, that would be normal for somebody like me. I don't have no writing skills, but we'll end it right there. Hey, before we end it, hey Nathan, what's up, man? What you been up to, bro?
Good, brother. I've been good. I just thought I'd hang out here and check you guys out and listen. I just got a little bit late. I was meditating.
No, that's fine.
I went longer than kind of.
I know you was helping your friend out. Hey, let me ask you real quick before we end this, because it's a good question. Hey, do y'all got pyramids in Australia?
No, some people might argue, but no. Closest thing we've got is the Big Ayers Rock. There is possibly, but to be honest, it's very likely made up by World War I soldiers that were over in Egypt during the war. And there are Egyptian hieroglyphs here in Australia. Some Aboriginals might swear by it, but that could be because of money reasons. And that's the closest thing we have probably to Egypt, and some hieroglyphs that kind of tell a story that you can kind of translate roughly, but it's like a rough period of maybe 3 periods of Egyptian, basically. So it's like you've got the first era, second era, and then you've got Coptic era reverted back into Egyptian hieroglyphs. So that's what supports being World War I soldiers being over there. And they put those hieroglyphs. That's the closest thing we've got to Egypt being here, man. So yeah,
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Well, I'm gonna close it out. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna just end the stream real quick. That was a good show. Hey, I appreciate everybody for listening. A lot of people listen to it afterwards. So yeah. Hey, you got anything to say, Vibe, before we go?
No, dope show. Awesome information, Fear. I gotta check that book out. Good discussion as usual. So yeah, appreciate everybody rocking out with us.
Hey, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Ricardo Alcavararo. I think I said that right. I probably butchered it. By his book, The Renaissance Earth. Yeah, there you go. I did a discussion with him the other day. We're going to do another one to close out his book. But a lot of people were talking about energy fields and stuff like that, and sound and frequencies and stuff like that, and spaces. It's funny. He actually wrote a book about it. Really good. If you have a Kindle, get it. He definitely has a great book. We're gonna start posting his stuff up on here. I forgot to play Vibe's song again, so I'm gonna make sure that I put it at the end of this thing. But yeah, check out Vibe. You know, I always have the banner for you on the bottom, bro. So anytime people visit Lil Vibe on Spotify, what sucks is they just took away the monthly listeners, because I was always trying to break the monthly record by promoting it. I think the highest I got was like, I can't even remember the number, but anyway, we got to a high number. And then when they took it away, I got pissed. I was like, man, I was trying to beat the record every fucking month, but we're gonna keep promoting that.
Much love. Yep, appreciate it.
All right, that's it.